The NBA is more talented from top to bottom today than any other era in history, and in today's video, we're going to give a glimpse of how deep the talent pool runs by highlighting the top 15 NBA players of 2022. This list only takes into account performances from the 2021-2022 season, which is why notable players such as Kawhi Leonard, James Harden, Anthony Davis, Paul George, and Damian Lillard, who all missed a large amount of time or had their plays impacted by injury, will not be included in these rankings. Additionally, this list isn't meant to be a projection for the upcoming season, but rather a benchmark for the best players over the last year. So I'm fully ready to look like an idiot by this time next year. Before we move on with the list, remember to subscribe to MS Hoops for more great NBA videos just like this. Now starting off at number 15, we have Karl Anthony Towns. His 3-point contest win last year might have no actual impact on his ranking, but it is further proof that he's the greatest 3-point shooting center ever. Whether it's catch and shoot or off the dribble, he can shoot from all over the court in a way no other 7-footer is able to. Along with his elite shooting, Cat is also able to use his size to work effectively in the post, rounding out one of the most complete offensive games in the league. This past season, he put up 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 4 assists per game on 53% shooting from the field and 41% from 3, while leading the Timberwolves to the playoffs for the first time in years. All his efforts earned him a third-team All-NBA selection this year, but unfortunately, when the lights were the brightest during the play-in and playoffs, he shrunk, which seems to be a theme in his career and prevents him from being any higher on the list. At number 14, we have Pascal Siakam. Recently, Pascal said he thinks he can be a top 5 player in this league, and while I don't think he's there yet, I think this past season did help push him into the top 15. This was the year Pascal truly started seeing the floor at a different level, transforming into an elite facilitator for his position and becoming more comfortable being a defense's primary attention, establishing himself as a true go-to guy for the Raptors on offense while still being everywhere defensively. In one of the more pleasant surprises of the season, he led the Raptors, who many predicted to miss the playoffs before the season started, to nearly 50 wins. He struggled early out the gate due to returning from a shoulder surgery, but when he fully got in his groove, he put up 24.3 points, 8.7 rebounds, and 5.6 assists on 51% shooting over his final 38 games. Being one of the most underrated players this year, Siakam proved all his doubters wrong and earned a third-team All-NBA selection. At number 13, we have Demar Derozan. It's rare that a player has their best season post-30, but DeMar might have just done so, having a career year at age 32 with the Chicago Bulls. He inherited the spirit of the other great shooting guard that played for the Bulls. Can't seem to remember his name at the moment. I think he wore 23 or something. Anyways, jokes aside, he put up 27.9 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 4.9 assists per game on 50.4% from the field while being historically great from the mid-range. He also had countless clutch moments and carried the Bulls while they were depleted with injuries. He's not a perfect player. His defense is very suspect, and his playoff performance still left a lot to be desired. But the facts remain. He brought the Bulls back to relevance, and his elite scoring production earned him second-team All-NBA in a season where he reminded everyone exactly who he is. At number 12, we have Devin Booker. In the playoffs, the Suns had an epic burnout, pun intended, and Booker didn't show up when the Suns needed him most, and that did take a lot of shine away from this year. But don't let that make you forget about how great he was most of the season. He had a career year, putting up 26.8 points, 5.0 rebounds, and 4.8 assists on 46.6% shooting from the field and 38.3% from 3. He's always been known for his elite scoring production, but this year he showed how much his games evolved both as a playmaker and on the defensive end. He was the engine of a Suns team that won a league-leading 64 wins, and for his efforts, he was selected to the All-NBA first team. If it wasn't for the disappointing way his season ended, he could have been higher on this list. At number 11, we have Ja Morant. Ja has always been a human highlight reel and one of the more exciting players to watch, but this past year he took a superstar leap, winning the Most Improved Player of the Year award and earning a second-team All-NBA selection, putting up 27.4 points, 5.7 rebounds and 6.7 assists per game on 49.3% shooting from the field, while also leading the Grizzlies to the second best record in the league with 56 wins. In the playoffs, he kept up his great play, taking the Grizzlies to the second round and making it to 6 games against the NBA champion Golden State Warriors. Ja's relentlessness and efficiency in the paint is absurd for a point guard and player of his size, and is only matched by players much larger than him like Giannis. While his jumper has never been his strength, this past season he did show significant strides in that area. If he continues to improve his outside shot, there's no limit to how good he can become. At number 10, we have Trae Young. Trae had one of the more underrated and impressive individual campaigns last year, putting up an impressive 28.4 points and 9.7 assists per game on 46% shooting from the field and 38.2% from 3. This season, he fully showed off his lethal range and shooting ability along with his elite playmaking skills, showcasing how he himself is one of the greatest offensive systems in the league and becoming the second player in NBA history to lead the league in both total points and assists. For his regular season efforts, he was selected to the All-NBA third team. In the playoffs though, there's no sugarcoating it. He was absolutely terrible in his series against the Heat. But considering his prior history and what he did the year before in the playoffs, I think it's fair to look at this as a bump in the road and a terrible matchup. I fully expect him to bounce back and be great going forward. At number 9, we have Jimmy Butler. For the regular season, he was great, putting up 21.4 points, 5.9 rebounds, and 5.5 assists per game on 48% shooting from the field, along with 1.6 steals, while leading the Heat to the first seed in the Eastern Conference with 53 wins. But it isn't his regular season performance that lands him so high on the list. It's the playoffs, where Jimmy always steps up, and this past year might have been his best one yet. He's improved upon everything from the regular season, putting up 27.4 points, 7.4 rebounds, 4.6 assists per game on 50.6% shooting from the field in the playoffs, where he led his Heat to the Eastern Conference Finals and was one shot away in Game 7 from making the NBA Finals. The numbers are very impressive, but don't even paint the full picture. Throughout the postseason, the rest of the Heat roster was struggling a lot, especially on the offensive end, and oftentimes Jimmy was the sole player that was able to do anything. The fact that he took on that pressure and load and managed to carry the Heat that far in spite of it solidified Jimmy as a top 10 player in this league. At number 8, we have Jayson Tatum. This past year was the tale of two halves for both Tatum and the Celtics as a team. For the first half of the season, the Celtics were disconnected and dysfunctional, and Tatum just looked like an inefficient shot chucker. But once 2022 began, it became a whole nother story. Everything began to click for the Celtics, and it began on defense, where Tatum played a key role. In fact, it wasn't just his defense that stood out. Throughout this whole period, he showcased how elite his all-around game was. From his elite scoring ability to his improved playmaking, he ended the season putting up 26.9 points, 8 rebounds, and 4.4 assists per game on 45.3% shooting from the field, earning him a first-team All-NBA selection. His strong finish carried over to the playoffs, where he helped lead the Celtics to their first finals in over a decade, stepping up in the big moments and even outplaying stars like KD throughout a run that established himself as a member of the league's best. At number 7, we have Kevin Durant. As someone who spent most of the past decade in contention for the best player in the world, this position may seem jarring for KD. But to make it clear, from this point forward, the differences are very minimal, and KD being at this position isn't so much of a slight to KD as it is a testament to how talented the league is. Despite all the drama surrounding the Nets, this past season Durant did his thing as usual, putting up 29.9 points, 7.4 rebounds, and 6.4 assists on 51.8% shooting from the field and 38.3% from 3. Earning him a second-team All-NBA selection. His skills have remained as sharp as ever, and it's clear why people consider him the greatest scorer ever. However, this past season he did miss a lot of time, and his availability is something that's increasingly been in question since his Achilles injury. add in the past playoffs where he got locked up in a way we've never seen him be clamped before, and it's fair to question if he has begun a bit of a decline, especially as he's 34 now. At number 6, we have LeBron James. Despite being 37, last year LeBron played at a level most stars can only dream of reaching in their absolute primes. The Lakers were bad last year, but that had nothing to do with LeBron's on-court performance, as he put up a near league-leading 30.3 points, 8.2 rebounds, and 6.2 assists per game on 52.4% shooting from the field, earning him third-team All-NBA honors. LeBron is still easily a top 10 player, but being at number 6 is a lot lower than where we normally see him on these lists, and there's a couple of reasons why. Firstly, his durability over the past couple of years. We've seen LeBron miss more and more games, and this past season he only played 56 of 82. LeBron's been an Iron Man throughout his entire career, so his recent history of missing games is definitely something that's factored into the ranking. Additionally, primarily because of his age, it's clear he can't go full speed all game anymore, and there are frequent possessions and plays where he just stands around and watches. So while he's still great and breaking our perceptions of what's possible at this stage of his career, aspects of age have begun to show and hold him from being any higher. At number 5, we have Joel Embiid. Embiid is a monster and finished top 2 in MVP each of the last 2 seasons, with a very legitimate case to win this past year. He was always an elite post player, but in recent years he's evolved his game to be a threat from all over the court and improved his perimeter game to a level to which he can take anyone off the dribble. This past season as well, he's also leveled up his playmaking to become one of the better playmaking centers in the league. Add all this in with his already elite defensive ability, and it's clear why Embiid has one of the best all-around games in the league, with virtually no weakness. This season, he became the first center to win the scoring title since Shaq, with 30.6 points per game. On top of this, he also put up 11.7 rebounds and 4.2 assists per game on 49.9% shooting from the field. On top of his statistical dominance, he kept Philly afloat despite the Ben Simmons trade drama and led them to 51 wins. For his efforts, he was selected to the All-NBA second team, and whether he won MVP or not, it can't be denied that he's a top 5 player in this league. At number 4, we have Luka Doncic. Luka has been the NBA's brightest young star for a couple years now, and has always had gaudy numbers. This year was no different, as he put up 28.4 points, 9.1 rebounds, and 8.7 assists per game on 45.7% shooting from the field. His efforts earned him a first-team All-NBA selection. While his regular season performance was great, the reason he ranks so highly and above players like Embiid is because of what he did in the playoffs. In the 2022 playoffs, he put up an absurd 31.7 points, 9.8 rebounds, and 6.4 assists per game while leading the Mavs to an unlikely Western Conference Finals appearance, including a historic upset over the league-leading Phoenix Suns. The way Luka can generate buckets, control pace, and manipulate the defense is second to none. It's almost like actual magic. He's the toughest one-on-one cover in the entire league, and considering his ability to improve the game when the lights shine the brightest during the playoffs, along with how young he is, I have no doubt he'll be climbing higher on this list very soon. At number 3, we have Steph Curry. The reigning Finals MVP certainly earns his spot on the list, but it isn't for his regular season performance. In fact, this regular season was actually quite underwhelming for Curry's high standards. Despite starting the season extremely hot, he spent most of the season in a massive slump, ending off averaging 25.5 points, 5.2 rebounds, and 6.3 assists on 43.7% shooting from the field. This campaign earned him second-team All-NBA honors, but it was the playoffs where he stepped up. Specifically in the finals against the Celtics on the brightest stage, he showed out, putting up 31.2 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists per game on 48.2% from the field and 43.7% from 3. He was the best player from both teams, and it was clear he was at a completely different level from everyone else. There were moments such as Game 4 where his teammates weren't providing anything, and he was the sole player to carry the load and bring them over the hump. The way he responded to this adversity cemented the greatest shooter of all time spot in the top 3 of this list. At number 2, we have Nikola Jokic. The reigning back-to-back MVP is one of the most unique talents the league has ever seen. A 7-footer with no significant athletic ability dominating the league purely off his vision and skill is an amazing sight to see. The way he's able to orchestrate the offense and get all his teammates involved is unheard of for a 7-footer. Calling him the greatest playmaking center of all time at this point is just stating the obvious. It's at a point where he's in the conversation for the greatest playmaker ever regardless of position. He's also able to score from anywhere on the floor at an extremely efficient rate using his bruising ability, skills, and footwork. This season, he put up 27.1 points, 13.8 rebounds, and 7.9 assists per game on an insane 58.3% shooting from the field. Also becoming the first player in history to finish a season with over 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 500 assists. Aside from his statistical dominance, he also led the Nuggets to an impressive 48 wins despite missing 2 out of their 3 best players. He certainly earned his MVP award and a top 2 spot on this list. And at number 1, we have Giannis Antetokounmpo. The most dominant and unstoppable force in the game, there's no question that Giannis deserves the top spot. Despite coasting most of the regular season, Giannis still easily put up 29.9 points, 11.6 rebounds, and 5.8 assists per game on 55.3% shooting from the field, while leading the Bucks to 51 wins. For his efforts, he finished top 3 in MVP and earned a first-team All-NBA selection. In addition to his All-NBA selection, he also made the first-team All-Defense, showcasing his dominance on both ends of the floor and being the only All-NBA player and player on this list to make a defensive team. He was great in the regular season, but managed to step up his play even more in the playoffs. Against an elite Boston defense without a second-best player, he took the Celtics to 7 games and put up 33.9 points, 14.7 rebounds, and 7.1 assists per game. Pure dominance. If Chris Middleton didn't go down with injury, there's a very good chance that Giannis and the Bucks could have gone back-to-back. But even without the ring to cap it off, there's still no doubt that Giannis is the best player in the league. Check out the card on your screen for another great NBA video, and don't forget to subscribe to MS Hoops.